After it looked like their season was all but over, the Philadelphia 76ers have fought back, winning 4 games in a row, and now sit just 4 games out of a top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference. And along the way, they've gotten some very encouraging individual performances that project well as we head towards the second half of this NBA season, with the trade deadline coming up on Thursday. And when you take a look at the Eastern Conference standings, things are getting closer than they were even just a week ago. The 76ers at that 11 spot at 19 and 27, but when you look at the teams ahead of them, the Orlando Magic currently hold that 6th seed in that last guaranteed spot in the playoffs, but they've been struggling. Now just sitting at 500 at 24 and 24, and the Miami Heat, Detroit Pistons, Atlanta Hawks, and Chicago Bulls have all been struggling as of late as well, opening the door for the Sixers to have a realistic shot at maybe not even just getting a play-in spot in that 10 through 7 range, but maybe even pushing up towards that number 6 seed if they can continue to play well as this season comes to a close. So we're going to get into some of these individual performances and how the Sixers have been able to win these 4 games and why this is such great news for Philadelphia. But before we do, if you want the Sixers to keep their winning ways, which they have not been doing as of late, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. If you don't, because I know there's some people out there that would rather see the Sixers tank to try to keep their pick, comment why you would like to see them tank down in the comments section. So as I mentioned off the top, there has been some great individual performances that the Sixers have seen over not just these past 4 games, but over the past 10-plus games as well. And from Tyrese Maxey to Eric Gordon to Justin Edwards, there's been some guys that are starting to step up when their name is called upon. And I want to start with Tyrese Maxey because what he's been doing really since 2025 started, about this past month or so, but especially over these last 10 games, has just been tremendous. And there's really not enough good things that I can say about Tyrese Maxey. It's hard to put into words just how important he's been for this team. With no Embiid, with no Paul George, he's gone out there after a shaky start to the season where the Sixers relied on him way too much. He was taking every shot. The offense was pretty much give Maxey the ball and get out of the way. He's been much more efficient as of late. You take a look at his last 10 games, because that's really when he's been starting to put it all together for the 76ers team, and he has been maybe the best he's ever been in a 10-game stretch. Last 10 games, playing over 40 minutes a game, scoring 32 points a game, 7 dimes, 4 rebounds, 48% from the field. 3-point number, still a little bit low, but he's taken so many of them, and that number is only going to continue to go up as it has gone up since the start of the season. And everything we've seen from Maxey, he is doing special things out there on the floor. You take a look at some more info on what he's been able to do over this stretch. This is now 12 straight games of 28 points or more for Tyrese Maxey. That is tied with Giannis Antetokounmpo for the longest streak of 28 points or more in the NBA this season. Maxey also leads the NBA in clutch points per minute. The clutch in the NBA is the last 5 minutes, 5-point game or less. So when the games are close and when the games matter, Maxey's been great, and the Sixers have been in a ton of those close games this season, and he is now tied with Charles Barkley for the second most 40-point games in 76ers history before turning 25, just sitting behind Allen Iverson. And again, what he's done, being able to resurrect this team that was really dead in the water after that loss to the Denver Nuggets where they looked lifeless. Nick Nurse talked about the lack of effort, how that was unacceptable. It was maybe the worst they looked all year. And now Maxey, second in the NBA in minutes played per game at almost 38 a game, behind Josh Hart, I believe. Tom Thibodeau just running his guys into the floor over there. But 7th in scoring now at just over 27 points, 8th in field goals made a game. He's 3rd in steals per game. So obviously steals don't tell the whole story of how good somebody is on the defensive side of the ball, but he's been improved there and he's been getting his hands in the passing lane. And when Maxey can get a live ball steal and run out in transition, there's nobody that can chase him down when he's got that court in front of him. And he's 6th right now in the NBA in usage rate, 30%. So obviously Sixers, as I mentioned, been relying on him a ton, but he has been producing and he has been showing results. and showing improved efficiency as well as the season has gone along. And I touched on this earlier, but, with no Paul George in these last few games, and, of course, Embiid hasn't been out there pretty much at all, it was all up to Maxey to carry this team. And before these last 4 games, it was like, well, this is it for the Sixers. They lose these last few games before the deadline, season's probably over, but he's been able to carry this team to wins, and to me, he should be an all-star. Sixers, obviously, Embiid won't be an all-star. Paul George won't be an all-star. There's a lot of deserving guards in the East, but Tyrese Maxey absolutely should be an all-star. And if you're a big fan of Tyrese Maxey, just as I am, well, I got great news for you. You can go get yourself a Tyrese Maxey shirt right now through our friends at Fanatics, chatsports.com/Maxey. A little bit of a shirt jersey, a jersey, if you will. Comes in a couple of different colors. This black color you see on screen. Also in this navy blue. Support Tyrese Maxey. He has been killing it. The franchise, baby, out there in Philadelphia. So that link, chatsports.com/Maxey. It'll be in the comment section and in the description of this video to make it real easy for you guys. But it's not just Tyrese Maxey that's been hooping and is the reason that the Sixers team has been able to win some games. I've been really impressed with what I've seen from Justin Edwards. He is legit. He's finally getting a chance to show what he can do. And look, the Sixers UDFA is starting to become a real player and showing that he's deserving of real rotational minutes in the NBA. And similar to Maxey, over his last 10 games, he's been able to get some run because of injuries across the board for the Sixers. And he's been showing out a little bit. Over these last 10, Justin Edwards playing about 28 minutes a game, almost 10 points, 3.5 rebounds. And I've been impressed with him on the offensive end of the floor. 46% from the field and 34% from 3. That 3-point shot was a big area of emphasis for him coming out of college. But he's been able to look comfortable with his shooting form and just been better than I think I would have expected for him coming out of college and in his first real run in the NBA. And I think what Nick Nurse had to say, whenever your coach talks about giving you increased opportunity and showing that confidence in you, man, that goes so far for a young player like Justin Edwards. And Nick Nurse says he sees a role for Justin Edwards even when everybody is fully healthy. This isn't just he's playing for now, but he'll go back to the bench once Paul George is back. No, Nick Nurse said, I want Justin Edwards on the floor. And it makes sense. He deserves to be in this rotation. He just looks so smooth out there, so comfortable out there. And among all the rookies so far this season, of course, we saw what Jared McCain was doing before he was injured. He probably would have been Rookie of the Year, but it's been impressive for Edwards as well. You take a look at the offensive rating, the top rookies in terms of offensive rating this season. The Memphis guys, Jalen Wells, Zach Edey, have been really good, of course. Both of them up there in Rookie of the Year conversations. Dalton Knecht, who we saw play well against the Sixers the other night, is number 3. But look at number 4. Justin Edwards, 4th among rookies in offensive rating. That just goes to show you, because he's not a guy that has the ball in his hands all the time, right? It's not he's going out there and, between the legs, getting to the basket. He's just playing well within the flow of the offense and getting good looks. And when he gets good looks, he is making sure he takes advantage of those opportunities and he's knocking them down. And why I think Edwards really does deserve to stay in this rotation, one, it's his defense and it's his physical presence and his long arms and his frame, right? The ability for him to lock down the opposing team's best players at times. And he has high IQ on defense, high IQ on offense. He always knows where to be at all times. He never looks lost on the floor, which is very impressive for a player of his age, especially one who was undrafted. And he competes hard on every single possession. It's been a breath of fresh air with all these older vets the Sixers have been running out there on the floor to see someone with young legs who's getting out there, running, playing hard, and just being in the right spots, making smart cuts under the basket, things that the Sixers need to do more of, honestly, when it comes to their offense, because they haven't had enough of that really in the past few years, but especially not this season either. And moving on from Justin Edwards, another guy who's really bounced back after a tough start to the season, Kelly Oubre. I kind of dogged on Kelly Oubre on the show early in the year. I said he's a guy who, if he doesn't step it up, he could be traded, and I think that was fair because he wasn't playing well at the time to start the year, but really, these past 10 games or so, especially the last week or so for Kelly Oubre, he's really been turning around. He's really been hooping, and he's shown again why he's become a fan favorite here and why the Sixers were so excited to bring him back after what he showed in his first season in Philadelphia. And for Kelly Oubre, man, these last 4 games, so coinciding with the win streak, this 4-game win streak for the 76ers, he has been absolutely tremendous on both ends of the floor, playing about 38 minutes a game, nearly 20 and 10 from Kelly Oubre. I know it's a small sample size, but when you're winning games and you're impacting winning in the way that he is, man, that is impressive. 2 steals per game. He's finally getting back to being that disruptive defender with his long arms and his height and his defensive instincts and his IQ ability to get into the passing lanes and use that athleticism. 2 steals a game. 48% from the field, and look, the three-point shot hasn't really come around, but that's just kind of who he is. He's never been a great three-point shooter. It does seem like he makes threes, though. When he makes them, they're very timely. They're at big moments in the game. So that's what I like to see from a guy like that who can be inconsistent from behind the arc. And again, I mentioned his defense. Kelly Oubre right now is second in the NBA in deflections per game at 4.1. Generates a lot of turnovers. The Sixers team does a good job at generating a lot of turnovers. And again, when you have a guy like him and a guy like Maxey who can run up and down the floor with their speed and their athleticism, getting those hands on those loose balls and forcing live ball turnovers is so important. Only behind Dyson Daniels in this metric, who has just been an absolute freak defensively. And again, Nick Nurse showing Kelly Oubre some love because, again, those struggles early in the year, it can be sort of a hit on someone's confidence, right? Especially if the coach isn't always out there backing them up. But look, I think for the most part, Oubre's done a great job, and Nick Nurse kind of agrees. I think it took him a little bit of time to figure out where he was and what the situation in life was a little bit, but we asked him first and foremost to start playing defense. Be a big part of our defense because you've got the talent and the skills to do that. We saw that last season, and that took some time. There were some ups and downs, but I think for the most part, he has settled in. And look, this is the Kelly Oubre the Sixers need consistently moving forward. This is the guy that we saw at the end of last season in the playoffs against the Knicks when he was tremendous. This is the Oubre they need moving forward, especially if the team can get healthy. That is a great rotational piece and a great complementary piece. Again, if he can continue to do what he's been doing on defense and just be available on offense, not try to do too much, don't need to take too many threes, but take them when you're open and just be that glue guy on both ends of the floor. Bring that energy, and he's going to have a spot for quite a while here in this city. As well as Eric Gordon. Look, I thought Eric Gordon was washed, and I think most people thought Eric Gordon was washed. The first couple months of the season, man, Eric Gordon was a disaster. He could not hit a single open shot. He was known for his three-point shooting ability, but I think he was in the 20s, maybe low 30s to start the season. But there was this great graphic that was popped up on the Sixers broadcast during the game against the Kings, and it's funny, but it also does point to the turnaround that we've seen in Eric Gordon's season thus far. So for those of you who don't know, Eric Gordon missed a little bit of time dealing with a mouth injury, and then he ended up having wisdom teeth surgery not too long ago. And you can see before he had that surgery, 19 games, just 5 points a game, 36% from the field, 27.5 from three, under 1 3-pointer made a game. But after the surgery, you can see he's all smiles, baby. 15 games, 9.4 points per game. But look at the shooting numbers, man. Almost 49% from the field, over 49% from three, and over 2 3-pointers made per game. And some of these threes he's taken, man. He hit one against the Kings, I think against the Lakers as well, like way out there from the logo. So, man, him fighting that shooting stroke, big for this team in 2 ways, because if they want to trade him, obviously his trade value's up. But if they want to keep him, getting that floor spacing is big for this team because they've kind of been lacking that floor spacing ability. When Jared McCain went down, the Sixers struggled to shoot from outside because Jared McCain was like the only guy that was taking and making a high volume of threes and threes from all over the court. But now with Eric Gordon showing that ability a little bit, it's helped this Sixers offense open up a little bit, open up the floor, let Maxey cook. And I think if Embiid comes back at some point, that'll be a huge key because in the games that Gordon played with Embiid, Eric Gordon was still struggling quite a little bit. And before we get out of here, I want to give a shout out to Ricky Council as well. He was sent down to the G League on Monday, played a game down there with the Delaware Bluecoats because prior to this week was really struggling with his confidence after a pretty decent start to the year. Things kind of fell off a cliff for him efficiency-wise. He was kind of being a little out of control back to what he was early in his rookie year. So Sixers decided, you know what, Ricky? Let's take a second, slow you down. We'll send you to the G League, get a game under your belt where you can just kind of relax and get your confidence back. And I think that's exactly what happened. He had a good game in the G League. I believe he dropped 29 points in that one game. And since he came back in the games against the Lakers and the game against the Kings, he was much better and much more efficient. And I think even apart from the counting stats, which we'll pull up here in a sec, just looked more confident and more comfortable on the floor. It wasn't like he was trying to force things. Again, working in the flow of the offense, something that we've been talking about a lot on this show, because I think the Sixers weren't doing a good job of having a free-flowing offense for guys to be comfortable, and Ricky Council's been able to settle in these last couple of games. Against the Lakers, great game for Ricky and what was a blowout win for the Sixers. Just 20 minutes played, but 16 points, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, 6 of 10 from the three, and what I love to see from Ricky, that three-point shot. In these 2 games combined, 4 of 8 from 3. He'll take 50% from 3 any day of the week, especially when he's knocking down 3 triples against the Lakers. And then against the Kings, 13 points, and he had a monster dunk against the Sacramento Kings. Would have had a second one if DeMar DeRozan didn't pull him down midair. Very dangerous play that resulted in a flagrant foul penalty one on DeRozan. But again, love what I've seen from Ricky Council. Shout out to him, because that type of thing, being sent down to the G League, you could take it one of 2 ways. You could either take it the way Ricky Council did. I'll use this as an opportunity to get my confidence back and to show them why I belong. Or you can kind of let it demoralize you and hurt your game. So I'm glad we saw a positive impact and a positive effect out of that from Ricky Council. And look, I know people don't want to hear the positivity and don't want to hear the optimism with this 76ers team, because just when things go good, something else usually goes wrong. But look, I'm just calling it how I see it, right? And I know I've been negative on the show as well, because I react to what the Sixers are showing me. Well, right now, they're showing me good things, right? And I'm not going to be all the way back in and say, oh, this team's going to make a deep playoff run. But I do think if you can get Joel Embiid and Paul George back on the floor sooner rather than later, the way that some of these role players, as well as Tyrese Maxey, have really stepped up over this past couple of weeks, I think this team could at least make a little bit of noise. And again, they're only 4 games back of that number 6 seed in the Eastern Conference. So personally, I'm not in favor of them tanking at this point in time, because it's right there for them for the taking to win some games here, beat some good teams, trade deadline coming up, maybe make an acquisition here or there, and finally get this team back to where it was supposed to be at the start of the season. But again, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. Are you in favor of the Sixers making this push, or would you rather see them tank? Trade deadline's coming up real soon, Thursday, February 6th. So be sure to subscribe. You're not going to want to miss a thing. Sixers, whether they're selling or they're buying, they're going to be making moves at the trade deadline. There's going to be a lot of rumors flying around. So stay in the know and make sure to subscribe here on 76ers Now.